virtual audience, however you stumbled upon this content, maybe it was on LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook, maybe on YouTube, no matter how you got here, we welcome you to the Happy Half Hour, a discussion with industry leaders from trend, toy, gift, people that know what's up in CPG and the industry of play. And today we have a really unique guest. He's from across the pond. Billy, say hello.
Hello. Hi, Steve. How are you?
This is perfect. Billy, we met officially yesterday. Shout out Layla for the introduction. And I would love to explore this relationship that I think doesn't exist very strongly in the toy business. And I'm talking about a conversation between the inventor community and the sales rep community. And I'm hoping we can do that today.
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward to it. We met properly yesterday. Now this, yeah, we're taking big steps. I'm looking for what we're going to do for our
best friends.
I know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like London. Do you live in London or do you live outside in the UK?
Just outside of London, yeah.
Zone 7, I don't know. Whatever. Is there a tube station?
No, even further. It's going to be a drive and then a tube, I'm afraid. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you pick me up at Heathrow. Billy, you work in a class of individuals in the toy industry that most people don't even know exists, the professional inventor. Can you give us some context on who Mojo Nation is and what you do for the creative community?
Yeah, sure. So Mojo Nation's been going about 3.5 years now. So it started from before Mojo. I was editor of a toy trade magazine called Toy News. And while I was there, we were covering retail and marketing stuff. And just sort of through my own selfish interests, whenever I'd bump into an inventor, I found them really interesting and wanted to sort of write about their approach to design and thoughts on creativity and how they became a toy inventor. And I sort of found those guys were immediately some of the more interesting people I'd met in the industry. And so while I was at Toy News, we launched a very small event called the Inventors Workshop, which basically came about because I did a few interviews with inventors, and we had lots of people who didn't read the magazine reach out and say, oh, I saw that interview with that person. I've got loads of great ideas. Can you give me their email? Because I want to pitch my toy or game ideas. And these weren't professional inventors. These were teachers or limo drivers or cabbies or, you know, all sorts of people. And so we did this event, which was aimed at the public. It was, you know, if you've got ideas, but you've got no idea where to go, come to this event and you can learn about the industry, learn what it takes to license your ideas. And then we had a pitching element to it as well. And what basically happened was that we did this event for 3 years. And by the third year, through no real skill of our own, we started getting lots of professional, full-time UK-based toy and game designers. And we sort of said to those guys, you know, why are you bothering with this? Surely you've got lots of other, you know, stuff to go to. And they basically were saying that in the UK, you know, you've got London Toy Fair, but in terms of events that actually are about bringing people together to network, to pitch, to celebrate their achievements, there wasn't that sort of thing going on in the UK. So I went back to the guys who ran the magazine and I said, look, we've got a big audience here that we should be doing more with. They very politely said, no, it's not really of interest. And I told too many people. I told too many people I was going to do it. So I left. We launched Mojo, and I suppose what we are now is a body for toy and game designers. So we've got a website at www.mojo-nation.com where we interview designers and inventors and heads of design and heads of inventor relations from all different toy and game companies. So it's the Hasbro's, Legos, Mattels of the world, but also indie companies, tech toy firms, tabletop games companies. It's sort of a very broad church. And then we're an events business. So we run an event every year called the Play Creators Festival, which is made up of a toy and game design conference. We do an awards, we do a pitching event, and then we do lots of different things with university students throughout the year. And then the last sort of component to what we do is working with brands. So because when I was at Toy News, we also ran licensing.biz, which was a trade magazine for the licensing industry. When I launched Mojo, we started getting brands come to us and saying, look, we don't want to necessarily go and sign a master toy deal with someone, but we're really interested in working with the inventor world to find our new licensed toy and game ideas. And off the back of that, we've done events for Magic Light Pictures, who owns the Gruffalo. We've done events for Rubik's. We've done events for Hello Kitty, all about basically bringing brands in front of inventors, letting inventors pitch ideas based on the brands, and then any good ideas, the brands can then go to normal partners and say, look, we found this great inventor idea. Would you like to license it? And we've
So
had,
let me break that down for 1 second, Billy. You're telling me that there are people out there that make money professionally inventing toys, and you literally help anyone who that could sound cool to. Like,
in a nutshell, I mean, we could have saved a lot of time. You could have said that I could have gone to you right at the start and you could have summed it up. But
yeah,
yeah, that's it. That is exactly it. It's we're open to everyone. So our audience is obviously a lot of the pros, but then we get a lot of amateur designers, we get a lot of graduates. And we've had, we've got, funny enough, there that little Rubik's game, Rubik's Cage, that
yeah.
came from one of our events over the last few years. And we love it both times. When a professional gets something licensed at our events, it's great. And we also love it if someone who's totally new to the industry wants to come along, pitch their ideas. We love that as well.
I love that, man. Well, Billy, you seem like a giant kid at heart. Where did your love and passion for play develop, and how are you channeling this passion to bring change and evolution into the business?
Well, it's a really interesting one. So I think, like a lot of people, I worked before. I was on the toy magazine. I was in video games. And when I joined Toy News, it was a bit of a sort of time machine type thing. So I think toys have that time machine quality in the same way that music and film often do. And when I went for that role, I sort of was honest and said, look, it's been a while since I played with toys. It's been quite a long while. And it didn't take long before, when I was at Toy Fair, I used to love, when I was covering it from Toy News, getting stuck in and playing with stuff and playing games and playing with toys. And it sort of brings it all back. And when I was a kid, I was a massive board game fan. I still am. And it was the only time I really ever thought about it when I was younger was I played a game which I think is still out called Atmosphere, which at the time was a VHS horror game that you put into the TV and you play this spooky game, and there's this guy slowly decaying over an hour telling you what to do in this game, and it's sort of aimed at being quite scary, and I'm a big horror movie fan as well.
Yeah.
And that was the first time as a kid, I was obviously scared by this thing, but also I was thinking, wow, someone's put this together. Someone's had an idea to scare you with a board game. And I didn't really give it much thought because then I did film at uni and I was very much into movies and filmmaking and stuff like that. But I think that's naturally where Mojo has come from, is in the same way that I'm more interested in watching directors and writers talk about their movies and how they come up with ideas and come up with stories. It became apparent very quickly in my old job that was what I was really interested in. I would sit and listen to someone talk about how they come up with a game that I played that I didn't even know. And they've all got great stories. And that was the weird thing, especially coming from video games. It's an industry that really celebrates its developers and talks about, shares their stories. And that's what struck me when I was in Toy News. It was that thing of, it was almost like an underground community. Like you say, some people are like, even now when I talk to people, they're like, wow, you can make a living as a professional toy or a professional board game inventor. It's a very cool thing.
And look, we're not telling you that it's easy. My mentor always told me that if it was easy, everybody would do it. And the reason why the toy inventor job is not well known is because it's not easy. It's actually quite hard. But we'll come back to that in a little bit later. It's time for our first compliment. And our compliment is of your wonderfully fancy accent. Billy, as a British person, what are some of the unique factors about the EU and specifically the UK market in regards to play? Are there any British insights that you've learned recently that can be extrapolated to other markets?
It's a really, really interesting one. And I think, for a long time, the main difference was in terms of opportunities. So obviously the US is blessed by having a lot of the big companies are based in the States. A lot of the big inventor groups are based in the States. Places like Chicago have a really rich history in terms of toy and game design. But I think the nice thing in the UK is that the biggest thing I've found is there are sort of new design styles popping up all over the place. And that's whether people are leaving, jobs where they've been inside and headed up R&D at a UK-based toy and game company, and they've crossed over the fence to go out on their own. You've got lots of talent in terms of, you've got the design by touches and the fuses and the seven towns and the sort of the ones that have been going a long time and are really successful. But then you've also got a new crop like Fee Murray and Making Things, and Sally Jacobs and Bean, and lots of really exciting new talent, Gary Piper and Fundamental. And I think so what I would say is that in the UK there is a sort of fresh wave of inventor talent happening that is coming from a professional basis. But the other thing as well that we're finding that we are lagging behind the US in, but we are catching up, is in terms of the education angle. So the US has places like Otis and FIT that teach toy design as a course, and you can go and do a toy design course and connect with industry that way. The UK, when I first launched Mojo, we spoke to about 30 different universities in the UK that teach design, and asked them, how do you teach it? And a lot of them sort of came back and were very honest and said, well, we don't really teach toy design. It's not something we thought about. And we're trying to sort of change that slightly. And we're having more and more UK universities expressing an interest in launching their own MA in toy design courses that are interested in connecting with industry. And even big platforms, like there's a big show in the UK called New Designers, which is brilliant for showing off graduate talent. Even organizations like that are becoming more and more interested in how they can get toy companies involved, how they can connect young people with toys. So in terms of insights, I would just say that there's fresh waves of talent coming out of the UK all the time, which I think is really exciting.
Talk about inventors in the same way that people talk about athletes. Like they should have their own trading cards. It's so cool to hear, because these people are super creative. And I've been lucky enough, we work with Spin Master, who has an incredible culture for inventor relations, a whole department built for it. And that's one thing that I'd like to say to any manufacturers: invest in an inventor relations department, whether it's outsourced through companies like Trina, is it Trina McFarland? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Trina McFarland, like companies like that, or Layla, where you can start a conversation with the inventing community. Billy, speaking of the inventing community, you wrote a book, and that's super sweet. Can you tell us more and maybe even show it to the camera?
I can. Look, here's one I made earlier. So it's called the
Shift it
Snakes
over
and
just a little bit for us. Boom.
Boom, there we go. So it's called the Snakes and Ladders of Creative Thinking. I should say I co-wrote it. I can't take all the credit, with a guy called Deej Johnson, who writes for our website. Shout out Deej. He's a creative consultant. He does lots of brilliant stuff for toy and game inventors. And yeah, basically what the idea of the book was about is that there are, tons and tons and tons of creative techniques that are really useful for toy and game designers to have loads and loads of ideas for toy and game, different toys and games, but also for people who are starting out. One of the key pieces of advice we always give anyone that wants to come to our event that is brand new to the industry: sometimes they'll have their one idea, they'll have a one toy idea or one game idea. And we try and always say to them that, the best idea is to have lots and lots of ideas. If you've got loads of concepts and loads of companies to show it to, it can be a bit of a numbers game, and it will help your chances. And we found that we were speaking to a lot of amateurs and sort of trying to get this across. And their initial fear was sort of, they didn't see themselves as being very creative. They would say, well, I've got this one idea. It took me ages. I've worked on it for a year. That's it. I can't possibly think of other ideas. But Deej in particular has sort of, this huge awareness of all these different creative techniques. And I know roots into the industry. So we partnered up, and essentially, the book is spelling out lots of different creative techniques that you can use to have loads of ideas, and some thoughts on how you can improve those ideas and get them ready to pitch, essentially.
It's awesome, man. Getting the boat in the water is one of my favorite pieces of advice to give to somebody. A lot of times everybody prepares to prepare, and they think that they have to have the master plan figured out before they open their mouth to express how passionate they are about an idea. And I disagree. I think it's about getting enough so people understand it. And then, like you said, extrapolate the idea. Don't let it stop. Don't treat your ideas so singularly. Like, treat them dynamically, multi-dimensionally, that can grow in any direction, not just forward.
Yeah, and it's all about how you're perceived as well. It's that, we try and say that if you go, most of these inventor relations execs are really, they're brilliant at their job, and they're passionate and they're creative, and they want to, even if something's not right for them, they want to help you. They want to help improve your ideas or point you in the right direction. And so what we often say to the beginners is that, if you can go in with loads and loads of ideas, even if you pitch 10 concepts and all 10 aren't right, you're going to be seen as a bit of an ideas machine. You're going to be seen as someone who, if you can take the criticism well, when there's no ego in it, you know, you've pitched lots of ideas, nothing worked, but that's okay. I'll have some more ideas and I'll come back. And I think people want to see those sort of inventors far more than they see, you know, you sometimes get characters that might have their one idea and they've been trying to get it off the ground for years, and they pitch it and they repitch it and they repitch it, and they don't really take on advice and stuff like that. You're going to be seen as being a far more investable and someone that people want to see if you've got loads of ideas and you're seen as an ideas machine, versus if you've just got your one idea that you're trying to get off the ground.
Yeah, guys. My big brother Ryan, I don't drive very much, but he told me when you're buying a car, don't fall in love with that one particular car on the lot. Like, there's a lot of cars. That same car exists on another lot 20 miles away. Like, you have to be able to step away from that love. And I think it's a perfect segue to our next question. I think it's very important to talk about what not to do and the strategic no. Telling inventors that their product doesn't have a fit in the market is like calling somebody's baby ugly. How do you deal with rejection, and do you have any advice for people that might be scared to start?
Yeah, it's a really good point. And we've seen it all in terms of, you know, some people who are convinced they've got the best thing ever. And if you even politely tell them that there's something similar or they should tweak it, then it's exactly what you said. It's like you've called their baby ugly.
Ugly baby.
I think
there are ugly babies. I want to go on record and say there are ugly babies. It exists. I'm not saying that they're going to be ugly forever. I'm just saying that they're ugly at the time.
Are you inviting people to send in photos and things like that? I don't know where that was going.
Babies, and I will rank them ugly or not ugly.
Exactly. There's a game. New
game.
New board game right there. Exactly.
That's funny. That's you know what? That would be an awesome game positioned for the gender reveal party. Ugly or not ugly.
There we go. Look, you can have that one.
Whoever wants it, we're open to licensing. Mojo Nation is my
exactly. So yeah, I think there's key things. I think, you know, if you can take any ego out of your ideas, that's great. Again, a lot of it is personality. So, you know, that we know loads of inventors who they've got no ego in their product. You know, they know they're going in, they're gonna show 10, 15 things. They're not going to take it personally, and they shouldn't take it personally. You know, and I think a large part of that comes down to industry knowledge and research. You know, we when we're talking to some amateur designers, you know, I've had chats with people that, this isn't the exact example, but have essentially said, look, I've got this board game and it's all about an ingrowing hair. And I've gone into all of the top toy and game shops, and there's no games about ingrowing hairs out there. So this is a unique prospect. It's going to go really well. It's like nothing else out there. Happy days. And I'm sure there are great games out there about ingrowing hairs, but you know, it's about learning that thing of, well, is there a reason why, you know, there aren't games like that out there? And you know, there is a thing of doing your research doesn't just mean eliminating and checking that your game isn't already out there. It's also trying to work out what is on the shelves and why they're on the shelves. You know, if all of these collectibles that have really cool unboxing processes are suddenly all over the shelves, then you should probably be having a think about that and seeing if you can come up with an idea that is different from those, but at least from a trend point of view, fits into clearly what buyers are interested in. Correct. So it's sort of walking that tightrope between, you know, having original ideas and doing your research and making sure that what you're pitching isn't already out there, but also making sure that you're not taking that to be a clear green light, because it's a bit messier than that, I'd say.
I watched the Virgil Abloh commencement speech. He spoke at either NYU or Harvard Business School, and you know, he's the creator of Off-White and is currently the creative director for Louis Vuitton Men. I followed the fashion industry very aggressively because, you know, for obvious reasons, they dictate what toys will look like 2 to 3 years down the line. But Virgil, as you know, as this new streetwear became high fashion or couture, he gave this speech, and he basically went through his phone showing pictures that he took. And he's like, look, my goal is to be 5% better. I want to find something. I want to understand why it's popular and then make it 5% better. Like he never said throw away the idea, you know, and make something that doesn't exist, because sometimes that's not sellable. What's sellable is oftentimes a 5% increase on what already sold. You know, And that's just one way to attack it. Like, don't necessarily think that that's the only way. Sometimes disruptive innovation that has never existed takes the market by storm. It's just oftentimes those are the lightning in a bottle kind of moments versus the 5% better is what keeps the business going every day.
Yeah, and exactly. And a brilliant inventor, Sally Jacobs, based in the UK, once said, and it's in our book, about one step new as a process, in terms of, you don't have to be trying to totally reinvent the wheel every time. You
Right.
can look at really successful stuff, and what is something new that you can bring to the table while also retaining what it is about that trend that is making it a hit, exactly like you said.
Totally. I love it, man. Well, Billy, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to make you choose your favorite kid, or maybe a couple of them. What are some of your favorite inventor games coming to market this fall or just got to market? We want to see some innovation. We want to see some fun. We'd like to see a preview, Billy.
I know, right on the spot. Luckily, I played one yesterday night, and I thought, fine, I won't disappoint you. So I've even got it again. Look at this, like Mary Poppins handbag over here. I've got a thing called Trapped.
Ooh,
It's
David
from,
Snow.
exactly. There we
David
go.
Snow, super smart, creative dude. Shifted just a
Exactly.
little bit over Billy. Show us the full packaging, how it looks. Trapper escape game. Oh, the packaging's crispy.
So yeah, so it's from a company called Golden Bear, and yeah, from David Snow and Steve from the Fantastic Factory. So it's basically a new escape room game concept. So obviously there've been escape room board games before that are very much just cards and you play this. The nice thing about this, and again I gave it a go yesterday, is that you're actually the kit that David's created, it turns any room in your house into an actual escape room. So it's got all the different pieces in here that you can, you're sticking things to the wall, you're hanging things on your door handle, you're putting things on your windowsill. So you're building an experience in your house or in a room of your house, and you're playing it there. And I had this conversation with him yesterday. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes having that experience and just making it sounds obvious, but making it slightly more experiential, making
Totally.
that a bit more than just a board game.
Who
So
who is who's the licensor in the US?
I don't know, actually. I don't know. We'll have to ask. I'm sure.
Yeah. Okay. We'll shout out somebody else, but I think it was Play Monster for some reason. But please continue. Anything else in that Mary Poppins bag of yours?
I was trying to look around. So I know that's really good. I mean, in terms of stuff we saw at Toy Fair, there was a game from Play Monster called Drone Home. I don't know whether it's out yet or not, but that's from a guy called Don Ullman. And that again, Don's brilliant. Him and a guy called Bob Driscoll have created lots and lots of brilliant games. That game Drone Home is it's a game that features an actual drone. So you're basically flicking these aliens, trying to get them into this capsule in the middle of the board. And when at a certain point, when you're in there, the drone takes off and flies your alien away and stuff like that. So it's mixing that sort of drone technology with a board game, which when myself and I was with DJ actually at the time, we saw that on the stand, and it was we couldn't get away. It was brilliant. So yeah, I mean, we see so much stuff, and actually at the moment we're doing an awards, and we're getting lots of stuff nominated for the awards that are coming in. So I mean, there's things like there's a card game called Abandon All Artichokes from a designer called Emma Larkin, which is from Game Right, and again that's trying to take sort of deck building mechanics that you'd normally see in heavier games in the tabletop space, and evolving them and bringing them into mass market and family, making it suitable for family and kids games. So I always think that's always interesting when people, as a tabletop board game fan, as you can see a lot of those behind me.
Yeah, you have a few
can,
games behind you. Billy, I brought a couple of games to share with you because I wanted to get into the game mode yesterday, and I think that there is a new game table in America. These apartment buildings that are being built in every city are all being built kind of in the same format with like a kitchen island. Every one of these young millennials have a kitchen island in their new apartment wherever they move after college, and I think that's the new game table. So we had a little dinner party yesterday. We played two games. One is from a company called Amigo called No Thanks, super fun. And then this one is called Hinky Pinky, super fun game where basically it's a card game where you take two rhyming words. We'll see if this one works. This one, for example, says classy chassis. And I would know those words, and I would have to give you 2 clues for you to get it. But I have just been in this game mode recently, and think that, you know, NPD has game and puzzles up 277% for the first quarter of 2020. And although it'll probably plateau a little bit, the game and puzzle super category is one of the fastest growing segments. So I think companies, it is in your best interest, retailers, it is in your best interest to kind of break down these traditional game buying cycles and look out at all of these smaller companies and these inventor ideas, because they're approaching it with a fresh kind of, just a fresh face on. They're not jaded by necessarily what has worked, because the consumer keeps proving that they're looking to play in new ways. And in games, I think it's easiest. Well,
Yeah.
Billy, it is that time of the show. I am so happy to say that you've made it to the end. We call this segment, we call this segment the creation of positive energy. It is your turn to shout out anyone, anywhere in the world doing a great job. Billy, the floor is yours.
Brilliant. And has anyone not made it to the end? I'm worried. What normally happens? Is there?
There is a little chance for murder. Everyone is somehow made it so far, but good question.
Suddenly a wave of relief there. So yeah, I mean, there's a million people obviously, but the one that comes to mind, actually, they've been mentioned already. I'd say Trina McFarlane from Tinkertini, mainly because obviously she does an amazing thing in terms of the day job with the inventor relations and stuff like that. But I speak to her often, and sort of her dedication to the inventor community, and also the way she's trying, especially linking into what you guys do, you know, the way she's trying to get as many insights and data and anything she can to help the professional inventor scene sort of up their game and get better insights to inform, you know, basically to help them get their stuff licensed more often and things like that. I think the stuff she's coming up with and the way she's going about stuff is properly innovative and new for the industry. And yeah, she's superb. I've not got a bad word. I don't think anyone has a bad word to say about her. I think she's superb. She's
awesome. Look, man, I think there's a connection to be completed. The inventor community and the sales rep community have never spoken. You know, it could be an interesting resource for inventors to seek out and follow myself or other incredible people that are speaking to the buyers themselves. Your innovation plus our real-time market insights could make your inventions 5% better. Guys, please follow Mojo Nation. Please follow Billy. Go read his book if you want to make it in the toy industry, but it won't be easy, so don't think for a second it will. This is the Happy Half Hour. I'm Kid at Heart, Steve Starobinsky. Thank you for watching.